October 13th, 2024. In a small town in northern Italy, a crowd gathers around what appears to be an abandoned construction site. But this is no ordinary machine. Two huge V8 diesel engines roar to life, belching black smoke from exhaust stacks that rise 20 feet into the air. The ground shakes as the crowd cheers. After 44 years of silence, the world's largest bulldozer has just come alive. It boasts 1,350 horsepower and weighs 183 tons. Its blade is wider than a two-lane highway. It surpasses anything Caterpillar or Komatsu have ever made. It's the largest production bulldozer in the history of earth-moving. Here's the kicker. This machine has never pushed a single blade of dirt. This is the story of the Acco Super Bulldozer. It was built for a dictator, but an American president stopped him from getting it. In 1980, Libya is flush with oil money, producing over 2 million barrels a day. Colonel Muammar Gaddafi sits in power with a vision. He wants to transform the Sahara Desert with pipelines, irrigation systems, and entire cities springing from the sand. For this grand project, he needs machinery. Specifically, the biggest machines ever created. The contract lands in Portogruaro, Italy. This quiet town, located northeast of Venice and home to about 25,000 people, is known more for its medieval arcades and lazy river than for building giant construction machines. Umberto Acco signs the contract. His construction company has been in business since 1945 and registered with the Italian Builder Register since 1965. He has built roads and civil infrastructure, but nothing in his career prepares him for what's to come. Libya wants the largest bulldozer ever made, not a mass-produced model, but a custom machine, one of a kind, assembled from Caterpillar parts, but bigger than anything they ever imagined. Additionally, they want a 200-ton motor grader to match. Acco reviews the drawings, sees the money, and says yes. Let me describe what he created. The Acco Super Bulldozer stretches 40 feet long from the front of its blade to the back of its ripper, which is about 12 meters. It stands 23 feet wide, or 7 meters. The cab rises over 21 feet tall, around 6.5 meters. To put this in perspective, you could park a city bus behind it and it would disappear completely. The blade is 23 feet wide and 9 feet high, taller than a basketball hoop, with a capacity of 25.5 cubic meters. The rear ripper towers 10 feet high, featuring a single large shank powered by hydraulic rams designed to break through the desert hardpan before the bulldozer's blade comes in. The tracks are custom-built by Berco, an Italian manufacturer. Now let's discuss how it moves. Under the frame, there's no hood large enough, are two Caterpillar 3408 V8 diesel engines. Here's the engineering twist. They are mounted horizontally, facing away from each other, distributing the load across a custom hydrostatic transmission. Each engine produces 675 horsepower, giving a combined output of 1,350 horsepower. This transmission powers 2 drive sprockets on each track, totaling 4 final drives, one upper and one lower on each side, designed for maximum torque at low speeds. This machine wasn't meant for speed. It was made to push earth and never stop. For comparison, Caterpillar's largest production bulldozer today, the D11, weighs 115 tons and generates 850 horsepower. The Komatsu D575A, the largest production dozer ever created, weighs 152 tons and delivers 1,150 horsepower. The Acco Super Bulldozer is 31 tons heavier than the Komatsu and is 60% heavier than the D11. It is a unique machine, with only one ever made. The build takes about a year. In his workshop in Portogruaro, Acco and his team create everything custom: the frame, the blade, the ripper, and the cab. They source the engines and drivetrain from Caterpillar and assemble it into something the world has never seen. By the end, the most powerful tracked bulldozer on Earth sits in a small Italian yard, ready for shipment. Alongside it is its companion, the 200-ton motor grader, also custom and monstrous. Both machines sit poised across the Mediterranean and start reshaping the Sahara.
Then, January 7, 1986 arrives. President Ronald Reagan signs Executive Order 12543. The U.S. declares a national emergency over Libya's support for international terrorism. The order bans all exports to Libya, freezes Libyan assets in American banks, and prohibits any American person or company from doing business with Gaddafi's regime. It takes effect on February 1st at 12:01 a.m. 3 months later, on April 5th, Libyan agents detonate a bomb at the Labelle discotheque in West Berlin, packed with American soldiers stationed in Cold War Germany. The bomb, loaded with plastic explosives and shrapnel, kills 3 people, 2 American sergeants and a Turkish woman, and injures over 229, some losing limbs. 10 days later, Reagan orders Operation El Dorado Canyon, launching airstrikes on Tripoli and Benghazi from aircraft carriers in the Mediterranean and F-111 bombers flying 6,000 miles from England. One bomb hits Gaddafi's compound, killing his adopted daughter. The United Nations imposes its own sanctions. This presents a problem for the 183-ton bulldozer sitting in a yard in northern Italy. Although it was built in Europe, its engines and components are American. Under the embargo, any goods with significant American parts cannot be exported to Libya. The Acco Super Bulldozer is essentially grounded, not due to mechanical failure or engineering limits, but political issues. A bomb in a Berlin nightclub kills the contract that created the biggest bulldozer in the world. The bulldozer reportedly operates only once, performing a job in southern Italy just to demonstrate it works. Then it returns to Portoguaro. Transporting a 183-ton machine overland is prohibitively expensive. It requires specialized lowboy trailers, route surveys for each bridge and overpass, police escorts, and weeks of planning. The cost to get it to any job site exceeds what the job would pay, so the Acco Super Bulldozer returns to the yard. And there it remains for 20 years. Umberto Eco takes care of both machines. He keeps the engines oiled, the hydraulics sealed, and the tracks greased, waiting for a new buyer, a shift in sanctions, or a mining operation somewhere in need of the world's most powerful bulldozer. That call never comes. The issue is not just political, it's practical. No mine or construction site can justify the transport costs. Moving a 183-ton machine across continents demands ocean freight, port cranes with the right capacity, specialized inland transport, and route planning for every bridge and overpass. The few operations that might need it, like strip mines in Australia, oil sands in Canada, or open-pit copper mines in Chile, already have fleets of production dozers that are cheaper and easier to maintain. The Acco is a testament to what one person can build, but markets don't buy monuments, they buy machines they can keep running. In 2006, Umberto Eco dies. His son passes away not long after. There's no succession plan, no buyer for the business, and no one left who understands what those machines are or what they're worth. By 2008, the Acco property in Portoguaro begins to fall apart. The workshops and storage yards turn into a dumping ground for surplus earth-moving equipment from other contractors. Old excavators and worn-out loaders pile up around the world's largest bulldozer like junk surrounding an abandoned church. The motor grader gets stripped down, losing its cab, twin wheels, and blade, left exposed to rain and sun. It decays into a 200-ton skeleton consumed by rust. Eventually, it's cut up for scrap and disappears forever.
The bulldozer is heading toward the same fate. One of the most remarkable pieces of heavy equipment ever made sits in an Italian junkyard waiting for the scapper's torch. Then, in 2012, Dino Valerio steps in. Valerio is a longtime friend and neighbor of Umberto Acco. He collects historic vehicles and runs a family business called Beija Flor, a nursery and garden center in Portoguaro. After lengthy negotiations, he buys the bulldozer and arranges for its transport. On May 15, 2012, Maroto Transporti loaded the Acco Super Bulldozer onto a Faymonville Mega-Axe semi-trailer, which a MAN 38.460 truck pulled. The convoy was 20 meters long, 5 meters wide, and 5.3 meters high. The total weight was nearly 149 tons. Here is the important detail. the bulldozer drove onto the trailer under its own power. After 26 years, the twin Caterpillar engines still ran. The machine crawled across Portuguaro to the Beija-Flor nursery, where it was parked among Valerio's collection of historic vehicles for public viewing. Valerio passed away later that same year, but his family kept the bulldozer. For over a decade, it remained at the garden center. It was maintained but not used. The engines did not fire for years. It became a local landmark and a strange tourist attraction, a 183-ton sculpture of what could have been, surrounded by potted plants and landscaping supplies. On October 13, 2024, in Portuguaro, Italy, after about 9 years of silence, they decided to try starting it. A crowd gathered and cameras appeared. Mechanics primed the fuel systems, checked the fluids, and connected the batteries. They hit the starter. The first V8 started. White smoke followed by black smoke filled the air. The sound was deep and guttural, echoing off the garden center buildings. The crowd cheered. Then the second engine started. Both Caterpillar 3408s roared back to life. The hydraulics whined, and the blade lifted. After 44 years of near-total inactivity, the beast was mechanically sound. The engines ran, the tracks held, and the machine that had never worked a single day still worked. It still worked, and it still had never done the job it was built for. The Acco Super Bulldozer is the ultimate buried machine. It is not buried underground, but buried in circumstance. Built at the crossroads of Italian ambition, Libyan oil money, and American foreign policy, any slight shift in those forces could have allowed this machine to work in the Sahara for decades. Instead, all three collided at exactly the wrong moment. Umberto Acco built the most powerful tracked bulldozer in history, but the world told him he could not deliver it. He maintained it for 20 years, waiting for a buyer, a contract, or a change in politics that never came. His company folded, and his machines were abandoned. One was saved by a friend with a garden center, while the other was cut up for scrap. The largest bulldozer ever built now sits next to potted plants in a small Italian town that most people have never heard of. It has 1,350 horsepower and 0 hours of real work on its frame. The engines still run, and the blade has never pushed dirt. The family that owns it does not know what to do with it. Museums cannot accommodate it, and mines do not want to cover transportation costs. It is the world's most powerful paperweight. If you want to see it for yourself, it is still there in Portuguaro, waiting, just as it has been for 44 years. The machine built for a dictator was stopped by a president, maintained by a dreamer, and saved by a gardener. It is too big to move, too American to export, and too well built to die.